you're on camera, so either come down or come up. Gotta love a bloopers when you're trying to do a video. What's going on, everybody? My name is James Jackson. If you're new here, I do tips, tricks, news, and reviews for the film and video industry. So if this is content that you like, definitely make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can stay up to date on all the content going forth. So today we have a review. This time we're going to be talking about a lens that I'm really interested to talk to you guys about. This right here is the Dulens Triassic 50mm T2.0, no, not T2.0, T2.8 macro lens. So today I'm going to be talking about my experiences with it. I've shot a couple jobs with it, and I'm going to be talking about what I like, what I don't like, and what if it's something that you should be considering. And the reason why I am sort of talking about this lens today is because this is a lens series that really hasn't even talked about. In fact, I think in terms of like people that have actually put up reviews that have actually got it and tried it out, I think there's only one other person here. Now, if you're not familiar with Dulens, they are a manufacturing company that's been out for a while. Their most famous lens lineup is the APO mini primes that have sort of a vintage feel to it. I personally have not had my chance to try them out. I've been wanting to try them out. Hopefully, maybe in the near future, I will. We'll see. But recently, they announced these sets that sort of are kind of like a sisterhood or a sister lens set that you will partner up with those vintage prime lenses. So also we have a new cat, as you can see here in the background. So he probably is going to be showing up a lot more. So just FYI. But essentially the Triassic line is a series of macro lenses. They have a 25, a 35, a 50, a 90, and a 120, if I remember the lineup correctly. So I'm going to be talking about today the 50 because at the time that I bought this was the only one in the United States that was available. Now, the other lens lineups are now available, so you could definitely check them out if you guys are interested in this. I will just say, just quick TLDR, this lens is going to be great for a very specific group of people, or not so great for everybody else. And I'm going to go more into that later. That doesn't mean you shouldn't consider that lineup. I think there's just other focal lengths that are going to probably be better for various different reasons. And we'll go all that in today. Let's start off with the build quality. And I will say that I will give this. The build quality on this thing is amazing. This thing has it feels all metal. It's solid, gross. It feels like it could take a beating. It's great. I do love the fact that this is PL for multiple reasons, but also design PL. I like it because of PL because it means that you can grow with these. PL is probably like one of the most popular, both just in terms of amount of lenses that can go to it, but also just in terms of growth, because all the way up to the RA Alexa, they have the PL mount system. So these lenses can stay as you grow in your careers. But more importantly, what I like, because a lot of manufacturers, they just build the glass or the rear elements to a point, and then they kind of just add the PL. This lens is specifically designed for PL. It has the rear element all the way to the back end of it. So this means, when you're choosing your adapters, if you're going to adapt this, you have to be careful, especially if you're talking about putting potentially an adapter with an MD filter in it. So something to be mindful. Now, I've been adapting this to the Cinema Camera 6K with the Viltrox adapter, which I've done a video on. I'll leave links, I think, up here somewhere that I will and as well in the description, so you can check that out. But before I get to that, the build quality, like I said, is great. There's a little bit of resistance, which is it's the just amount of resistance in terms of the focal length that I like, where you need a little bit of force, but it's nowhere near as like I feel like I had to really turn it like on the IRIX 40, the IRIX 45 millimeter that I used to have that I've since sold. This lens just feels right. It gives the right amount of torque that I feel, which is great. And then, but there's a huge good amount of resistance on the iris part, which I actually prefer that because I would rather be able to have quickly. So with wireless NDs, you can do this just here, but make it a little bit more difficult from peer to peer to make adjustments on the iris thing. Outside of that, lens cap is pretty cool. It's a typical slip-on. So overall build quality, I gotta say, great out of 10. Great glass elements. Couldn't be happier. As I mentioned, I have been using this on the Cinema Camera 6K. I've been using the Viltrox adapter, which works perfectly fine for this. Again, a great, beautiful setup right here. And on the Cinema Camera 6K, it feels pretty. You definitely feel front heavy. You feel the weight on this, and you'll definitely even feel it on something like the Sony FX3, which I'm filming on right now. But just with a couple handles, this still feels like I can shoot all day. It doesn't feel so heavy that I can throw it on it. But you don't want a handheld. Again, this is a macro lens, which is, really designed mainly for tripod shooting more than anything else. And that's the thing that I gotta really emphasize with these lenses. These lenses are not necessarily a alternative for Dulens' APO vintage lenses. This is more so as a complementary piece. So maybe you have either you have the whole 5 lens set of the vintage primes, or maybe you only have 2 or 3 or a few select lenses from the vintage primes. These lenses are really supposed to fill in those gaps of giving you some specialty bits. And in terms of the image quality, it's not necessarily contrasty, but it has a great amount of detail. And when you're in those extreme close-ups with macros, which is for this was designed, it is tack sharp in the center. And even though there's obviously it's false, it's a macro lens, it's going to be soft. But when you got those really close up and you really want to get that really pristine detail shot, it's awesome. It's amazing. And it has a very, very soft fall off, which for macros, I really, really like it. I don't really like that hard, like photography style, like super sharp and then bam, where it's just like feels like an outline. This has more of a dreamy, like, it's not vintage, but it's definitely a lot more clinical and a lot more modern. It still has this really nice small fall off. So you can go all the way down to about 9 inches, which for a 50 millimeter, that's pretty close. And that's also pretty amazing. And then you have a nice long focal throw to about 4 feet. Once you get to 4 feet, that is where, and especially given this is a 50 millimeter lens, feels kind of like a standard, but 4 feet is where the difference between 4 feet and infinity is like there. It's like it's nothing. In terms, if you ever thinking about maybe I'll use this as a talking head, unless you're trying to get the camera 2 feet, I would say about 2 feet from your subject, this is definitely not going to be worth it. And it does get smudgy. Once you get closer to infinity. But again, this is a macro lens. This isn't really designed, for, normal stuff. And then the other thing I want to sort of mention is the focus breathing. Well, I will say this. It doesn't breathe. It inhales. The breathing is insane on this lens. Again, it's a macro lens. It's something that you should expect. However, it's something that should be like just even the slightest change of movement, you do see the breathing of this lens. Now, T2.8 may not seem really fast, but again, this is a macro lens. It's designed to be really up close. You want to sort of stage it and light it, or put in a scenario where there's a lot of light in the area. Because again, this is supposed to be on sticks. You're not really hand holding this lens. Absolutely. So last year I took this on a wedding, a few weddings actually, but in particular I used this on 2 weddings where I was mainly using it for detail shots during preparation, as well as detail shots during the reception of the decor. And I will say this, in terms of detail shots, it is awesome. It's amazing, particularly detail shots of if you got something like glass or champagne or the rings, the jewelry. This thing is perfect because of the focal length of 50 millimeters. So outside of weddings, I feel that this lens is like ideal for product photography. If you're doing where you need to get macro shots of some products, really close shots, this is like the ideal 50 millimeter focal length is like the ideal focal length for me for this. Where it sort of falls apart is if maybe you want to use it in other scenarios, or if you want to try to get either more of the background in frame. I feel like in order for it to get close with the 50, to get close in the range that you need it to be, you're going to lose a lot of the background. But if you're trying to maybe use this maybe as a close-up or for an interview, the focal lengths beyond 4 feet, it's not long enough a throw to really take advantage of it, which you would need with the 50 millimeter lens. But in terms of product photography, this is perfect. It will take out everything. If you want to just get the details of maybe some text or a certain thing, this is great. However, I personally feel that maybe focal lengths like the 25 millimeter or the 120 will have much more legs than this one in particular. The 25 being because you have such a stretch of glass where you get much more information. It allows you to get a little bit more of that extreme and get some of that interesting shots where you get this wide, where you get this in the background, but you're really close up of your but you can get really, really close up to your subject. I think the 25 is going to be for that. And then with the 120, it's very similar to me as to like the 150 macro from Irix, where it has just enough of a focal throw length that if you are sitting at like 4 or 5 feet away, it can behave as a really great close-up lens. And I think that would be more ideal, especially given the fact that maybe you want to get some as a C-cam where you want to get maybe close with the eyes and maybe there's a teary moment something of your interviewee, or maybe there's certain movements with their hands or something that you want to capture. I think either the 90 or the 120 will be more ideal, but particularly with the 120, there's a lot more distance in those farther feet away. The farther distances away, there's much more separation than there is with the 50. But this is going to be it for me, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Let me know what you guys thought of the Dulens Triassic. I would love to know. Leave your comments down below. And as always, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And until next time, take care, everyone.